Well, Jim, I can't be there for your retirement, but I'm talking to you today from Singapore. That's not Singapore, Texas. That's Singapore, Asia. And I wish you the very best on your retirement. And this is really a wonderful place that has a real diverse culture. And I think you'd enjoy it here, particularly the chili crab, which I don't think they serve much up in the hillbilly country. There are Chinese people. There are people from India. There are Muslim people. And even influenced from the British colonial period here in Singapore, where the mix of cultures make this a cultural gumbo that really makes the flavor wonderful. My first experience with Jim Tucker was one morning. I was out for a walk in the west end of Beaumont. I was walking down the street, and there was the Mason Nealon demo van. And since I needed to collect competitive intelligence, I was peering into the window of the van as Jim Tucker walked out in his bathrobe and his trademark pipe. And Jim saw me, and surprisingly, I sheepishly and kind of ashamed walked briskly away without saying a word. And we have laughed about that ever since, as he said, if you'd have come in, I would have opened the door and shown you around. But that's Jim Tucker that we know. I've had a very interesting time here in this mystical Orient. In fact, last night I went to a fortune teller, a Chinese fortune teller, and she told me about my past, the present, and the future. For the past, she told me that I had known 3 presidents of Scallon Controls, one being Nick Scallon, 2 being Glenn Neiman, and 3 being Jim Tucker. For the present, she said that I now owe her $20 Sing, and in the future she told me about a day in heaven when at the pearly gates, Nick Scallon, Jim Tucker, Glenn Neiman all showed up on the very same day. And on that day, they were all surprised to see the others because they felt most assuredly that one of them belonged in a slightly warmer locale. As they arrived in heaven, they were surprised to hear St. Peter come to the pearly gates, and before he opened them, he said, everything's going to be fine here, but there's just one rule: don't step on a duck. And they said, duck? What about ducks in heaven? As they opened the pearly gates, there were ducks everywhere, waddling, flying, all over the place there were ducks. And as they're taking their first walk around, everything was fine up until the point that Nick Scallon stepped off a curb, whack, stepped on a duck. Next thing we know, the singing stopped in heaven, the sky grew still, all the noise grew. St. Peter comes running up with a most distasteful, ugly woman and a pair of handcuffs. Clap, handcuffs that woman to Nick Scallon and says, you will stay with her forever because I told you not to step on a duck. So 150 years later, walking around a park, climbing some stairs, Glenn Neiman was not paying attention. He took a step, quack. He stepped on a duck. St. Peter comes rushing up, the skies go quiet, the singing stops. St. Peter even has a more hideous woman with warts and hairs on her face. Clip, clip. He said to Glenn Neiman, I told you, don't step on a duck. And 150 years later, lo and behold, walking through heaven, walking around a pond very much like this one, was Jim Tucker. He stepped around a tree, and before he knew it, whack, he stepped on a duck. The sky grew still. St. Peter comes moving his way. Everybody was watching, but this time St. Peter had in tow a beautiful Victoria's Secret model. And as she rushed up to him, handcuffs, click, click, Jim Tucker said, hey, what did I do to deserve this? And the model said, I don't know about you, but I stepped on a duck. Okay, Jim, well, best of luck in your retirement. And remember, my friend, don't step on any ducks.